All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to The Wire. It is Wednesday, February the 9th. We are going to cover a little Black History Month for the first half of the episode today, and we're going to get into the Super Bowl. I guess it's a pretty important game coming up. That and so much more. The Wire starts right now.
I'm going in, it's first and 10. I'm a legend boy, a champion. They can't match the flows, the X's and O's. I'm breaking the code, devastation about to unfold. They calling me Derek by the way I roll. Bet you never ever seen a pro this cold. I float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. I mix with I am Mike and the great Ali. I'm a running back, believe me, baby. I fathered the game, call me Daddy Brady. I'm like that, try be like this. Sammy, so that boy don't miss. It's the return of the greatest. Any way you name it, I'm everybody's favorite. I'm bringing the pain and bringing the fire. Hey, stay tuned, it's going down to the wire.
All right, everybody, welcome. We do have a couple of guys on their way, but in the meantime, I'm joined by Richie Phillips and Sahe right here in the Wire studio. How you doing, fellas?
Phil, what's happening?
Ready to go.
Ready to roll. Me as well. So, guys, in lieu of we're in that medium area in between the NFL season and the NBA season, but it is Black History Month, and I thought it would be a cool way to start the show today to kind of go through some of the prominent athletes over the course of history that have really made some waves and made history for people of color and for Black people and in general. So let's, before we get into like a list or anything, let's just, when we think Black History Month, when we think athletes who have paved the way, who's the first athlete for you, Sahe, that comes to mind?
For me, athletes that paved the way as far as on the Black side is obvious, right? Jackie Robinson, that's the one that's celebrated the most. America's pastime being baseball, and being the first Black guy to get in there and really make a way for everybody else behind him. It's just an amazing thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. On the top of one of the lists I even pulled up there. Absolutely. Richie, who's the first person that comes to mind for you?
I mean, I should say Jesse Owens since he just said Jackie Robinson, but I'm not. I'm going to stick to the answer, which is I think of Hank Aaron, which Jackie Robinson was like his hero. But when I think of Hank Aaron, I think of the dude that, like, in spite of all the racism going on and him breaking that record, standing for over 30 years before we had cheaters, Hank Aaron, man, he was a machine. Hank Aaron was one of my favorite athletes. Quite frankly, probably up there with Muhammad Ali. He's like right up there. I've always been a big Atlanta Braves fan. So Hank Aaron has always been like a little special to me. My dad always hated me for that because he always wanted me to be a Reds fan for obvious reasons. And he loved Pete Rose, but I said Hank Aaron is way better than Pete Rose. So Hank Aaron.
Absolutely. I won't take it from you, but the first to answer the question, the first person that comes to my mind is Muhammad Ali, but we will cover Muhammad Ali and all that he's done. So let's we got two great ones there. Let's start with Jackie Robinson. There's a nice little article on biography.com that we're going to be pulling from today. I encourage you to go check it out and learn some history. It's very important. Jackie Robinson made his debut with the Brooklyn Dodgers on April 15th, 1947. He did break the color barrier for African Americans in baseball. And trying to find stats, bear with me. He rose to Rookie of the Year, and he proved to be one of the most talented and fiercest players in the game. He had just 2 years in the major leagues, and he won the National League Most Valuable Player Award. And then he'd go on past that to play in 6 World Series, and he helped give the Dodgers a World Series win in 1955. So I'm sorry, didn't mean to word that as he played 2 seasons. He was only in the league for 2 seasons before he got the MVP. So any Jackie Robinson facts or standout points for you guys, or you just want to kind of roll through a list? How we want to do this?
We could just run through a list. I mean, the stats is, obviously there. You know what I'm saying? The accomplishments is already there. And there's so many great African-American players that I would want to get them recognized, you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And I've got one that's a little known that I'm gonna throw out at the end of the list if you guys know him.
Okay. All right. Well, the next person on at least this list that I'm looking at here is Jesse Owens. He's a 5-time world record holder in track. On May 25th, 1935, Owens, who was a student at the Ohio State University, attended the Big Ten Collegiate Track Conference in Ann Arbor, which is the state up north, and set a stunning 5 world records and equaled another in both sprints and long jump. And guys, that was all in a span of 45 minutes. And then he went on, of course, and had an impressive run. In the Olympics, I believe his first one was Berlin. Any Jesse Owens?
What you said, 4 gold medals against Adolf Hitler's little regime, so to speak, in his hometown. You know what I mean? What else is there to say? He was a bad dude, you know, and obviously, probably, in my opinion, arguably the most iconic sports moment for the country when you think about what the history of the 1936 Olympics and what that was about, and honestly, all the animosity within it. So it was an incredible moment. Jesse Owens was a phenomenal athlete.
Absolutely. Sahe, any Jesse Owens thoughts coming to mind?
The only thing with Jesse Owens is I just remember hearing my old late great track coach. He's like, you guys got to have your form. It's all about form. Jesse Owens, he had the best form. If you want to learn your form, you got to watch Jesse Owens. He was all about Jesse Owens and Carl Lewis. So whenever I think of Jesse Owens, I think of my old track coach. It's just funny, but yeah, what a guy, right?
Yeah, and it still even shows there that his impact even reached down to that level and is being used as a model there. Next, we've got Jack Johnson. This is not the pasty white hippie singer from Florida or wherever he's from. He was known as the Galveston Giant. He lived his life fearlessly, again, quoting biography.com, as one of the most famous and scandalous black athletes in America. With the Jim Crow era in full force, Johnson's 1910 matchup with undefeated white opponent James J. Jeffries was coined the fight of the century. Johnson knocked out Jeffries in the 15th round, and race riots exploded all over the country. Definitely a huge moment. What do you guys make of Jack Johnson, the artist?
All I got to say about Jack Johnson, the boxer, is I wouldn't call it the fight of the century. They labeled it that back in the day, but I forgot the white boy. It was like, I think he hadn't boxed in 6 years. He had to lose 100 pounds. There's no chance he's going to be, let alone Jack Johnson was clearly the superior athlete anyway. Having said that though, he's important. He's historical. You know, whenever you have someone who transcends the sport, and particularly in this period of time, like the 1900s, early 1900s, you know, you talk about a guy, you want to talk about racism. And again, Jackie Robinson dealt with it. What do you think happened to Jack Johnson? And like what you talked about, what exploded. And if you guys want to learn more about him, I honestly, there's PBS did something called Unforgivable Blackness, is I believe what it's called. Somebody can cite that. Somebody can Google it themselves. But I believe it was Unforgivable Blackness. It was right when I was my senior year. So I think 2004. Look for that 2004 PBS Unforgivable Blackness, I believe is what it was called. It was all about Jack Johnson. This man had a very intense life. He had a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but most importantly, obviously, we would not have even had that man, Muhammad Ali, in the picture if Jack Johnson did not break through that barrier first. So Jack Johnson, congratulations to him. And when you see him and photos of him, he was a mountain of a man. Like, that dude was jacked. Jack Johnson was literally jacked. This dude was a fucking phenom. So congratulations to him. Absolutely deserves all the praise he got. And he married 3 women. So good for him on that one too.
Yeah, that's patience right there. I mean, you got to have patience to be a boxer.
3 white women, as a matter of fact.
Exactly. Oh, that's even more patience there. Sahe, Jack Johnson, is that someone that you remember learning about?
Yeah, I remember learning about Jack Johnson. I even watched a little documentary on Jack Johnson not too long ago. And they were talking about his, his troubles and him getting in trouble with the law and them changing laws and all that. And he just lived one of those lives that you'll never see twice, right? He's just like a one-of-one, Jack Johnson. That's why his name still rings bells today. Because he was just that imposing of a figure and that dominant as a champion, But Jack Johnson, man, whew, I would have hated to be in the ring across from that guy, right?
Scary looking man. Yeah, and I think it's, we did a lot of this on H2G during 2020 and all the events that were going on of talking about how progress has happened, but in a lot of ways, not so much has changed. And, just to think that we're talking about a boxing match in 1913 that spring riots all over the country. And we just had something else televised, obviously not a boxing match, not a sporting event that did, very similar things. So it's just, it's crazy to me to look at it this way, and I'm not taking any political sides here. I'll keep that conversation for a different show, but it's nuts that we're talking about almost 100 years or over 100 years and still kind of, same story. So let's move on. Let's move on before I get kicked off the air. Fritz Pollard and Bobby Marshall, they were the first Black American football players in the NFL. This was in 1920, so about 9 years later. Fritz Pollard and Bobby Marshall became the first African-American players allowed to play in the National Football League, while Marshall, who played tight end, went on to build an athletic career, not only in football, but also in track, boxing, baseball, and ice hockey. Pollard quickly found himself juggling his running back duties with the newly added responsibility of being a head coach in the NFL. So we've kind of had some discussions on the wire before about split duties, Sahe. We had, a quarterback kicker, and now we got a running back head coach. What do you make of that?
Well, let me run it back. Fritz Pollard. I did a paper on him in, I think it was either middle school or high school. He was one of the first Black NFL players. He played quarterback. I think I was doing a paper on Black quarterbacks, and he played quarterback, I think, at a time. But man, that's just something amazing, right? First Black guys in the NFL. Now the whole league is like 70% Black. He really opened the doors. It was just it's a great story to go. I wish I remembered everything I wrote in that paper and everything about his life, because I went deep. When I did papers in school, I was hitting the hard stories. I even did a story on the real Rick Ross back in high school, and the LeContra and all that. I was getting deep into some conspiracy shit that I had no idea I was getting into at the time. But anyway, Fritz Pollard, is just one of those guys that you can't have what we have today without his contributions to the league.
Richie, it goes to what you were talking about before. I mean, imagine 1920, Fritz Pollard and Bobby Marshall are going to be the first two guys to enter the league. And, with a storm, what athletes Marshall was playing. We'll just leave that list to you one more time. Track, boxing, baseball, ice hockey, and in the NFL.
Well, and to clarify with Marshall in particular, Marshall was also a lawyer, by the way, when he was doing all of these things. He played his first game when he was 40. And then Fritz Pollard, to Sahe's point, I mean, between the two, Fritz is more of the athlete than Bobby at football specifically, which is why Pollard became the first Black coach of football. But, they're both athletes. They're both incredible. And unfortunately for both of them, they got blackballed. Whiteballed, whatever you want to call it. I think they actually called it the gentleman's agreement. And then there wasn't another Black football player until the late 40s or 50s. I don't remember the exact date. But, these men were playing in the 20s. And I think it was until like 26 or 27. And then all the Black athletes were basically removed from the league, and then they had to go about their ways. But these guys were obviously, the first to ever do it, Pollard and Marshall. And I just want to give Marshall a shout out too, because the man was a literal lawyer while he was also all these other athletic talents that he was. So that is impressive to me, man. I wish I would struggle just to be a lawyer, let alone doing all these other things. Man, I don't even know if I could be a lawyer. I'm probably too dumb to be a lawyer. I don't know, but he did all these things. So that was super cool to read, to be honest.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, pioneers for sure. This next one, I was reading about, and it's all the same, right? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the history, and it's important to do this. Should be all year, but it's important to do this at least once a year so that people can, kind of take a look and compare apples to oranges and stuff. We talked about how bad the 60s were. We've been talking about Imagine before that. Charlie Sifford was the first black golfer in the PGA. This is way before Tiger Woods, came in and started setting records and all this. Sifford was, I think he was trying to get into the PGA as early as 52. And then obviously that wasn't accepted too well by America and the sports fans alike. But by 61, he actually was, despite death threats and everything else, able to enter the PGA Tour. He was the first black golfer in the PGA. He also he played in a career total of 422 tournaments, hit over 50 top 10 finishes and 22 professional wins. We've talked a lot about Tiger on the show for good and bad reasons, but it's interesting that Charlie Sifford, you really paved that way back in 1961. Guys?
Yeah, that's it's just more proof, that you know what I'm saying, the black athletes are just as amazing as I'm saying, any other athlete, PGA Tour. Come on now.
At 61. That's a rough time in this country, especially Black Americans.
Right during the civil rights movement,
Richie?
Yeah, I was going to say he's got his own exemption in the PGA Tour in the sense of every year there's a minority who gets to play in the event due to what Charlie Sifford had to go through. So, it's like everything else we've discussed. I think with Charlie, it was a little different. And when I say different, I mean, the NFL and baseball already had black athletes in this period of time, whereas Charlie was still being prevented from doing this because of all the boys clubs and all of the whitest of the whites. I think we can all agree that the golf course and, private country clubs are the most white, and you cannot get in there if you're any other color. So Charlie had to go through a different type. They all had death threats. They all had to deal with the racism. But, you get in and you get out when you're playing football. You're in, you're out of that stadium, and then you get death threats at home. Charlie's walking around the whole time getting all kinds of things from the gallery for hours on end. It's a different atmosphere in golf, quite frankly. And I'm not saying his was worse, but what I am saying is that it took even longer for Charlie to be able to do this, which goes to show you how hard it was to break into golf. And then to see Tiger down the road and how long these whole concepts were. And quite frankly, even allowing colored people into the Masters and into the clubhouse. I mean, it was a big debacle. Golf's a whole different story on racism, quite frankly, and we don't have time to talk about it. But once again, Charlie took the brunt so the rest of us could continue to do what we wanted to do.
Absolutely. And what good timing, because I happen to know a real good golfer that just moved his way in. And what's going on, Marvin? Welcome in, my friend.
I mean, yeah, man, what Charlie Sifford accomplished is, he can never be touched. He broke a barrier. I think for me, growing up watching, Tiger Woods, even though he claim to be, multiracial, but, to me, I saw, a black man out there from, starting in 1997, win the Masters, and from then on out, like, just dominate the game of golf. So I felt like, Tiger, in a sense, for me was more, inspirational in that time growing up because I got to see him play. But Charlie Sifford, there's no way you can overlook what he did because he opened the doors for Tiger, for black golfers. And without him, I don't feel like the game would have moved forward the way it did with Tiger. So, Charlie Sifford's a legend, and it's good that we can remember him during this month and, going forward because he moved the game of golf. That's what he did.
And Richie, this is a great segue. I don't know if you looked forward or if it just naturally happened, but you also mentioned how golf is inherently going to be a tougher situation for a black athlete to work his way into because it is, the boys' club. It is this inherently different style of racism. Also, the same could be said about tennis, right? And we had Althea Gibson, who was the first black athlete to compete in international tennis. And she competed in the Pro World Tennis Tour, and this was in 1956. She was also the first African-American woman to win a Grand Slam title, which is the French Championships. The following year, she would win Wimbledon and the U.S. Nationals and repeat her wins in 1958. So we're in that same kind of time frame with the civil rights movement going on. Obviously, it still is, but the heart of what everyone thinks of when we started to see, this battle for civil rights. She had a career total of 11 Grand Slam wins, which includes 6 singles titles. So obviously paving the waves for stars that, we can think of now, the Williams sisters, things like that. Where's a good place to start? Sahe, what do you make of Althea Gibson?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with this one. But again, just another amazing story. All the things you list off. I know Richie and Marvin, they probably got a lot more better on this one than I could.
Richie, kind of the same similar situation we were talking about with golf, with Althea.
Well, I mean, it is because she literally played golf as well, by the way. Yeah. So yeah, let me clarify. Beyond the fact that she was transcendent for the sport of tennis, she also played on the LPGA when she was almost 40. So not only was she in women's tennis, she also broke the barrier for the LPGA. But yeah, she was phenomenal. And, I think Marvin mentioned this earlier. And what I would like to say is, when we kind of associate at our age, we think of the Williams sisters, for instance. But once again, Althea kind of broke that barrier for them, who broke that barrier mentally and visually for us. So what an incredible woman and determination, and honestly, incredible athlete, as I just mentioned. So really cool. I'm glad we're actually talking. I really am glad this is something we're talking about. It's really nice to kind of hear the Althea Gibsons and everybody, honestly. So I'm super excited about this. We have one more person, which I know we're going to know, but Althea was definitely one of the highlights for me because I was like, man, she was special. For real, 2 sport athletes. So 2 professional sport athletes.
Absolutely. Marvin?
Yeah, like Richie was saying, I'm glad we're having this conversation because they don't get enough. They don't get talked about enough. Their history, their legend doesn't get talked about enough. You're talking about a woman that was, is a 2-sport athlete. That's rare. I can't think of anybody that's accomplished that, let alone, break that barrier. And you can imagine, everything in between, playing tennis and being on the LPGA. She probably went through a lot, and that in itself, I mean, like Richie was saying, I wish ESPN, I wish the major sport platforms would cover these legends a lot more, when discussing, tennis or golf, because they open the doors. The origins started with them, and And I'm glad that we're talking about the pioneers of these sports, because we don't get to talk about it that much. Like Sahe was saying, I'm getting educated now. I don't even know everything, but just to know that's a part of Black history, makes me very proud. And for anybody to celebrate this during this month is the forgotten. It shouldn't be forgotten.
Absolutely. And we are running a little short on time for this first half. What I'm going to do, we've got one more. Then when we come back, we are going to talk Super Bowl, but in the comment section below, and this is for the audio platforms and the video platforms, we got a link there for biography.com's special on these particular 10 pioneers of the sport. I'm also going to put another link to another 50, and it goes beyond that. Educate yourself. I mean, that's the point of this month, is it shouldn't just be isolated to February. It should be something that everybody knows and celebrates all year. I mean, we're still fighting a fight, but we're going to take advantage of February, damn it. We're going to educate as much as we can. We're going to make sure that people are talking about it. So last one for this discussion this week, Bill Russell, legend for defense, rebounds, shot blocking. I'm looking at the article. It says, up until Michael Jordan was largely considered the top basketball player in NBA history. And again, Michael Jordan came in 1980s. Russell was the former center for the Boston Celtics. He helped his team win 11 championships in 13 seasons. And starting in 1966, he served as a player coach for the Celtics, becoming the official first Black coach in the NBA and the first to win an NBA championship. So, guys, Bill Russell, whoever wants to start.
I got one thing to say before we talk about Bill Russell. We can't be talking about how he won a championship as a coach. He was playing. Of course he was the coach. He was literally the most dominant basketball player. People argue, Mike, this isn't GOAT alert, but Bill Russell was by far the most dominant athlete ever, period. He won in college the entire time, and he won in basketball virtually the entire time. And when you coaching yourself, here's what you do. You go, I can't shoot. Everyone else shoot. And break. And that's what he did. And he didn't have to do it. Slap the ball, block the ball 40 times. There's some histrionics in the statistics of how many blocks and how many rebounds he had. But put it this way. When Wilt Chamberlain, who I consider the GOAT, averaged 50 points a game, he got 25 on Bill Russell. That's all I got to say about Bill Russell, all right? Now, when you talk about him as a coach and et cetera, and we're talking about coach because that's the more little known fact. I'm not saying he's not a great coach, but I will say when you're coaching yourself and you're already the best player in the world, it's kind of easy to win. Could you imagine if MJ was the coach of the Bulls? Would it really change that much? That's all I'm saying. But everyone, it's Mr. Russell to everyone when they talk about this man. He was my dad's favorite player. Put some respect on this man. He was by far the most dominant athlete, period. And it is cool, first NBA coach. I actually didn't know he was the first Black coach, but I assumed he was the first one to win a championship because come on. Anyway, I'm done talking.
So, hey, Marvin.
Go ahead, Marv.
Oh, yeah. Well, Bill Russell was, a legend, like, Richie was saying, one of the most, dominant, if not the most dominant player in NBA history. But I think one thing to highlight is what he did off the floor, him being on the front lines of the civil rights movement, him and alongside other athletes at that time, Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali. You look at his level of patience as a player and as a person was, something that, I really appreciated about his career. Not only how dominant he was in the game of basketball, from the blocks to rebounds and points, nobody could stop him, but just how he carried that. He took that kind of energy off the court, and had so much patience playing with one of the most racist cities in America, playing in one of the most racist cities in America at that time, Boston. And, Bill Russell had some things done at his house things being said to him during games, after games, just because he was taking a stand, and all the while getting a franchise that really didn't, its fans really didn't deserve it, 11 championships. 11. If you ask me, I know we have great GOAT conversations, but he can't be left out of the greatest players of all time and not be put in the top 5. Just look at what he did off the court and on the court. Today we wouldn't have players, I think, like be so vocal about about Black Lives Matter and stuff like that if it hadn't been for Bill Russell. He's the one that started. He was the one that started that, was on the front lines of it. So, when you talk about Bill Russell, honored to talk about him.
His worst season, he averaged 18 and a half rebounds. His worst season.
I could not do that. I know. I couldn't even. Wow. Sahe, talking Bill Russell, my friend.
Yeah, Bill Russell. One of the, what can I say that hasn't been said before, right? That's why I wanted you guys to go before me. But this is Black History Month, so I'm not going to really get into my thoughts of that era of basketball that he dominated in. But like he said, he's obviously 11 championships. What he did in the civil rights movement can never be taken away from him. All that is solid, set in stone history that makes him somebody that we're going to talk about years from now. Just like all the other ones, man, it's just like, wow, all this greatness we get to talk about right now. And it's just amazing that we can go through this list right now.
Absolutely. And we're going to put, again, in the comments below, we've got the biography.com article. We've also got a second article. We encourage you to educate yourself. We got some weeks left in the month, so we might have some more discussions here on The Wire. But coming up next after this short break, we are going to talk about the big game, this Super Bowl, the LA Rams versus the Cincinnati Bengals. You're watching and listening to The Wire. Don't you go anywhere. Damn it.
Theater, film, acting, it's very collaborative. So these people that you're showing up with, be respectful, be collaborative, be open. Of course there are sabotages, I guess, but at the end of the day, if you and your partner go in there for a read, you both want to look good. You want to make the other person look good because they're going to make you look good. Absolutely.
And it's always important, I think, to support also if it's in an environment, probably specifically speaking to community theater, maybe college,
sure,
where there's applause after each read,
sure,
be a part of that. And when they go on a break, make sure it's important to network with the other actors, with the other, because the more you network, the more people get to see you and your abilities. The more of a product you are for future endeavors,
That's right, folks. Welcome back to The Wire. Make sure you are checking out Andrew and Justin. That's me. Actors Breakdown. Hoping to get Marvin in on a conversation or two as the season continues to unfold. But just another podcast brought to you by us, our little family of podcasters here. If there's a show that you'd like us to try to, or a topic you'd like us to try to tackle on the show, let us know. If you want to be involved with anything I will call it the H2G Network for now until we have an official title. Just let us know in the comments in the review section. And I'll put my email down there in the comment as well. But now, guys, time to talk about the big game. We can't just ignore it because, coming up on Sunday, we got the Super Bowl. And I'm not here to just talk about the halftime show because we're going to have to talk about the halftime show, but we've got the Bengals, we've got the Rams, we've got a season like none other before. We don't have, we've talked in the past about how we don't have some of the expected teams making it as far. We don't have some of the big pieces and players that we're expecting to see in the Super Bowl. So let's start with just a general what you're looking forward to most, and then we're going to kind of break down what each team needs to do. And last thing we'll do before we go off is predictions for sure. But Marvin, what are you looking forward to the most about the Super Bowl?
I'm looking forward to Potentially a high-scoring game. I mean, preferably I want some defense being played in the first half. I want both teams to still play well defensively, but I want to see who kind of scores first, and then the other team how they respond. I want to see an offensive explosion. That's what I want to see. Everybody kind of wants to see that in the Super Bowl. A couple of Super Bowls we've kind of been robbed of that, but I feel like this one is the one where you can see some high scoring, because you got the Bengals have Jamar Chase, they got T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, they got a receiving core that's capable of making big plays, and then Joe Mixon too. So, and then on the other side, I want to see OBJ. Him being probably, the most looked at in the Super Bowl, is probably the biggest star in the Super Bowl, is OBJ, Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford, Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, and Cam Akers. I would like to see how these defenses respond. So I mean, it's going. I can't wait. I mean, I'm looking forward. I don't know how well the Bengals are going to protect Joe Burrow. That offensive line has kind of looked bad in the last couple of weeks, even though they've got it done. But I mean, they're going to LA. They were late this past week getting there, so it's a little worrisome. But I mean, it should be a fun matchup. I'm looking forward to it. Are we doing picks already? Or are we waiting?
No, we'll do that last.
We're starting it all.
Okay. I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna be patient.
We'll break it all down, and then at the end we'll get some picks. Richie, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Marvin. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was it. Just looking forward to the not only that, but quarterback play. Joe Burrow versus Matt Stafford, a guy that's Joe Burrow is a champion already, a national champion, a Heisman winner. So winning is something that drives him. But Matt Stafford, how I felt about him for all these years. Matt Stafford deserves to be in this moment. It's going to be interesting to see how he responds to it. For him, being a league pro for so long, you'd like to see him perform well. So I want to see great quarterback play. I don't want to see turnovers. I don't want to see a bunch of turnovers. It's the big lights, but it's LA. I mean, the stars are going to be out. This is probably going to be one of the most watched Super Bowls. I mean, I can't wait.
All right. Richie, I didn't look up this stat because I just had a feeling that you would know. When's the last time Cincinnati saw the Super Bowl?
When's the last time? 89.
Yeah.
Well, 89 is when it played, but the 88 season.
Okay. And you've been, we're not going to age you here, but you've been a fan a long time of the Cincinnati Bengals.
A little bit. Let's just say I was 4 when I watched them lose. And I do remember them losing, actually, because my dad, it was the first time I'd ever seen him jump out of his lazy boy recliner. And I remember that moment he jumped out, because obviously when you're 4, you don't understand football. Let's be clear and fair to my 4-year-old self. But I've been a fan since I can remember watching television, quite frankly. So
yeah, man. And so to see them make it back to the Super Bowl, what overall are you looking forward to the most? Looking into the game, and I know how much of we all know that you're a sports analyst first. So is it the fan side of Richie sticking out here, or is it
no? We'll analyze the game first. But what I will say is Paul Brown, baby, let's go. Tyler Higbee is a big question mark in my opinion right now, because him and Uzomah both have a sprained MCL. And we've already heard Uzomah's going to try. Sean McVay's being a little more coy with Higbee. And as we've talked week in and week out, as I've dissected my Bengals already, tight end is where they get mauled. And Higbee was 3rd on catches, receptions, etc. He's a big part of what could be the problem for Cincinnati. So it really does depend on his MCL and how active he's going to be. Because I'm telling you right now, Cooper Kupp's going to have 120 to 150 yards. It's a given. Odell, everyone's been smack talking him. I'm not going to. I truly believe he's going to do what this is his moment. He's going to have 8 to 12 receptions for about 100 yards and a touchdown for sure. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I think the thing people aren't, they're just so ready for the Bengals to get swallowed by this amazing Rams defense. And I've been a Rams bandwagoner as well. But here's the reality that I will say if you're a Bengals fan. Aaron Donald is the baddest man on the planet, and I'll always defend him. But they're not going to get 9 sacks. All right. The Tennessee game is the lowest point we've seen that offensive line. And one of the things I think McVay's going to watch, and what he watched with Kansas City and what he saw against Tennessee, is that screen game is so effective because their line is so terrible. So they're going to be like rushing him and like, wait a second, is Mixon going off the side? Is P. Ryan going off the side? There's going to be that hesitance because they will be successful. And I'm not saying they won't. I anticipate 5 to 6.5 sacks for this game for the Rams. I'm going to give them that respect. And I do believe there will be a throbbing in the beginning. I really believe it's going to be 21-7 at the end of the first half. I think you're going to have a 2-score touchdowns for the Rams before the Bengals kick it into the second half. One of the things I'll give Zach Taylor is he's incredible at second half adjustments. I don't think he's the best coach by any stretch of imagination, but his adjustments are fantastic. If you're a Bengals fan, your concern is Higbee. Will Higbee play or not? If Higbee doesn't play effectively, the Bengals have a great chance. If he does play, and McVay, which I strongly believe he will take advantage of, he'll take advantage of that matchup. That is the weakest part of the Bengals defense. They are a bend but don't break defense, and they've been criminally underrated in this playoffs. And it's time to see if they can continue their streak of luck. Every game has been a tie game that was a field goal into the Cincinnati win. We'll see if that trend continues.
All right. And Sahe, big game on Sunday, my man. What are you looking forward to the most before we break it down a little bit?
I'm going to kind of piggyback a little bit off what Marvin said. He said there's going to be a lot of high scoring in this game, possibly. And I kind of wanted to talk about what Richie was talking about as well, about the D-line and how tough it's going to be for Joe Burrow. But what Marvin said got me thinking a little bit, high scoring. And you asked the question, what am I looking forward to or wanting to see? And if it's high scoring, after these guys score, what are they doing? They're celebrating. So that's what I want to see. I want to see who has the best celebrations after these scores. Maybe somebody pulls a Chase Claypool and ill-advisedly celebrates a first down, you know what I'm saying, in the last minute of the game. But yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to the most out of this game is the celebrations. I want to see these guys, these teams, well, the Rams, they've been in the Super Bowl, but they've got guys in there, Von Miller, Odell Beckham, Matthew Stafford, veterans in this league, highly respected players that either is first Super Bowl like Odell and Matthew Stafford, or going back to another one after a long time, a former MVP, Super Bowl MVP, Von Miller. But yeah, let's see what these guys got cooking in the celebration department. You know what I'm saying? Who do you guys think is going to have the best celebration?
That's a good question.
Well, it won't be Jackson
Mahomes. Got something up his sleeve.
I hope after Joe Burrow throws a touchdown, he goes to the sideline, somebody throws a fur mink on him, and he gets one of these. You know what I'm saying? I want to see that.
Go ahead.
Oh, my bad, Jess, but I forgot to say something, y'all. I know y'all excited too. I'm so excited to see the halftime show.
Oh,
the halftime
for sure.
Show is going to be dope. They finally got it right. You're going to see all us, our whole childhood. Everybody's up there. Got Dr. Dre, Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, Mary J. Mary J is back. Mary J just did a whole season of Power, and now she's doing the Super Bowl. That's crazy. And just dropped the album. So, I can't wait. It's going to be an entertaining halftime show as well, along with hoping we see some good celebrations. Great ones.
Hopefully they can keep the lights on. I remember when Beyonce did the halftime show pretty big. They couldn't even keep the power running. So let's get into a little breakdown. Yeah, I was going to bring that up, but That's what I'm here for. I think it's gonna be a good game. With the halftime show is gonna be insane. Let's go in reverse order. Sahe, we'll start with you. I think we'll do it this way. Starting out, we've got Bengals offense versus Rams defense. What does the offense need to do with this particular defense, and what does this defense need to do with this particular offense? Does this question make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Have at it, my man.
Okay, so what does the Bengals offense need to do? They need to, against the Rams defense, invest in the screen game early, get those pass rushers tired. That's something my Buccaneers refused to do. And I was screaming that the whole first half, even though, it's hard to, run the screen game, like especially if you got somebody looking for it, but disguise it a little bit. Get Jamar Chase involved in the screen game. Get them tight ends involved. Get Mixon involved in the screen game, and have that ball going all over the place and mixed directions. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think the Bengals should do, is get the ball out quick, screen games, low play action, and make sure you're rolling. Joe Burrow, he's mobile, he can use his legs. So I want to see a lot of that misdirection and moving around outside the pocket for Joe Burrow. And for the Rams defense, I would just rush 4 the whole game, don't blitz, and force Joe Burrow to make a mistake. And just pray that you could get home with those 4 defensive linemen so you can have extra guys in coverage, so you're not something that exactly like in our game. I hope the Bengals have watched tape when it comes down to the last 40 seconds of the game and you need to make a stop. Don't send the house, all right? Because Joe Burrow, like Matthew Stafford did, he's going to find whoever's open. So just pray that, Von Miller and Aaron Donald and Floyd and them boys can get to the quarterback with just a 4-man rush.
All right. Richie,
you want me to do the Rams offense, or are we going to do that on the
We'll come back. We'll come back around in just a minute. Richie, same question. When you're looking at the Cincinnati offense versus Los Angeles defense, what do you think the offense needs to do, and vice versa? What do you think Rams defense needs to do?
Well, the first thing I would say is pick on Darius Williams with T, because Darius Williams is 5'9". T can have a field day against him. That's exactly what happened in Kansas City. They were doubling Jamar Chase. And what Sahe said is something that will happen. Jamar gets doubled a lot for obvious reasons now. He's an incredible athlete, and he can make explosive plays. So they've been running a lot of screens to him. And I do anticipate they'll still try that, because Jalen Ramsey is great. All right, he is. But if they don't bracket and double Jamar Chase, it's going to be a mistake. It may not look like it early, but he's going to play. He'll break it off. He'll get a touchdown. And 1 touchdown is more than, it didn't have to happen if you bracket and double him. So in my opinion, the Bengals' success will rely on T and Tyler Boyd doing their thing. Boyd is great. I mean, he's a very crappy version of Cooper Kupp in comparison, but he's a fantastic slot receiver. And we already know what T is. T's incredible. I've already praised T enough on this show. We're not going to continue to do so, but I think the biggest advantage for the Bengals will be T on Darius Williams. You're giving up like 5.5 inches, and his. I don't even want to get into it. I don't see what they can do. You got Eric Weddle, who's like 100 years old in the backfield there. I mean, come on, man. Like, they have to take advantage of that. The other thing they cannot do, because they absolutely love doing it, and I don't know why, is they love to use Quentin Spain, the left guard, to pull over for those screens. And they can't do that against Aaron Donald. That would be the stupidest thing on the planet. And that's their screen game. So what I anticipate they'll actually do is that what they're going to have to do is use Drew Sample if Izoma's not playing, which is their backup tight end. For those of you who don't know him, you don't need to know him. He's terrible. But Sample's a big enough dude that he can block. He's a white boy that can block. So you pull Drew, and you're going to have Drew play motion, and he'll have to kind of do that chipping. You cannot single Aaron Donald for half a second or there's a free sack. So if you're Cincinnati, you avoid using guards to do those screens. You have to do somebody else. And I trust that Sean McVay, or not Sean, wow, I'm an idiot. Zach Taylor will game plan around that. I don't think he's dumb enough to just give Aaron Donald one-on-one when we've already discussed the Bengals line, particularly their guards. The center is their biggest problem of their line, quite frankly. So that's where Aaron Donald will feast. For their defense, I've already said what needs to happen. And honestly, Sahe hit it right there. You don't want to be blitzing too crazy against this team. You got Joe Mixon in that backfield, and he is a very, very well-versatile Alvin Kamara Jr. is what I like to call him. He absolutely can burn you on receptions, screens, and he can run the ball. He's very underrated at running the ball, quite frankly. He's a back that can take those loads, do 20-plus carries. So if I'm the Rams, I'm not committing. I don't need to commit. This Bengals line is so terrible that if we just rush 3 linemen and 1 linebacker, whomever, and give opportunities for Von Miller once in a while and go 5 on a blitz every once in a while and give Von that advantage, I'm going to have 6 sacks this game. So if I'm their defense, that's what I'm doing. And as I've already stated, if I'm the Rams defense, I'm bracketing and doubling Jamar Chase and saying, you're going to have to go 200 plus for the Bengals to win, because I'm not letting Jamar open ever. And if the Rams do that, I think the Rams can be very successful. So if they double Jamar, play it smart, only go for rush, I think they will have a good field day. I think as long as they don't get overly aggressive, that they have the defense to handle the Bengals line.
Marvin, so to clarify, we're starting off here, we're talking Bengals offense versus Rams defense. What do they got to do? What does the Bengals offense got to do? What does the Rams defense got to do to be successful?
Well, the Bengals offensive line, they have to show up and play. They have to remember a couple of weeks ago, like we were all saying, that they gave up 9 sacks. I don't see that happening. But as Richie and Sahe said, if they don't focus on good guard play to cover those screens, you're going to see a lot more sacks in the game. And I think that the Bengals, their success is going to be predicated on their aggressive play calling. Do what got you here. Do not go away from, the game plan because Jalen Ramsey's out there and Aaron Donald's out there, Von Miller. You have to adjust, which Zach Taylor's good at, but they can't fear what's on the defensive side of the ball. They have to be aggressive. They have to do what got them there. They'll have to extend plays because the Rams are really good at forcing teams into third down. They have a great third down conversion rate. And so when you look at it, the Bengals are going to have to, have a balanced attack. Joe Mixon's going to have to be used from the get-go. They have to get the run game going. They have to block for him. So I think that if they blanket Jamar Chase, they'll have to utilize Tyler Boyd in the slot. They gotta get, because the Rams are easily beat down on the sideline in the middle. And so Jalen Ramsey doesn't really strike fear into opposing wide receivers as he once did. He's good, but he's falling off just a little bit. I mean, look at that last game against the Bucks. Tom Brady burned Jalen Ramsey. Last touchdown was on Jalen Ramsey. But I think that if Joe can take advantage of those one-on-one matchups when he does have them, if someone slips up and Jamar happens to go one-on-one, they got to go over the top. You got to, because they have to get up early on the Rams. And I think the Rams defense, their success is going to be based on how well they can get to the quarterback, forcing Joe Burrow to make mistakes, doing the same thing to them. And the Bengals doing the defense doing the same thing to the Rams, being mindful of the blitzes, because I think that if they pick the wrong time to do that, you're going to look at big plays on offense, from the Bengals. So the Rams are going to have to play a prevent kind of style defense if the running game if the passing game gets going, because they can't afford to give up 30, 40-yard chunk plays, either T. Higgins or Jamar Chase. So Aaron Donald, Von Miller, that defensive line, they got to get to the quarterback. They got to do what the Titans did. Because if you can force, Joe Burrow to make mistakes, you can keep him from extending plays, keep it relatively a low-scored game, get your kicker out there. And I think it's going to be who can control the momentum shift. So I think that's what the Bengals offensively have to do is they have to be aggressive. And the Rams, they can't be passive on defense because how explosive the Bengals have been all year.
Let's go ahead and bring it back around. So, Sahe, we're going to flip the coin and talk Rams offense versus Cincinnati defense. What does the Rams offense need to do? What does the Cincinnati defense need to do in order to be successful in the Super Bowl?
I feel like the Rams offense just needs to air it out and air it out all day long, even if they get a lead, right? Kind of what the Chiefs made a mistake at. They weren't able to, keep that lead and keep their foot on their necks, like I would hope the Rams will be able to do. And I feel like that's pretty much their best shot. Get up early and stay up early. Don't try to get cute with running trick plays. You got Cooper Kupp, you got Odell Beckham out there. Just go out there and sling it around the yard and make big plays happen all day long. And then if you have to, you got Cam Akers back there, a guy that's come off an Achilles injury that's played phenomenal in these playoffs. But this is it's a long grind in the playoffs. So I don't want to see him be the focal point of the offense. I'm speaking about Cam Akers, just because the wear and tear on his legs throughout these last few games. And you want to stick to what got you there, kind of what Marvin said. You got Cooper Kupp and you got Odell Beckham out there. That's going to wreak havoc on this Cincinnati defense, I feel like. And for the Cincinnati defense, I feel like it's like pressure, right? The Rams can afford to just rush forward and get pressure. But the Bengals, on the other hand, I feel like they're going to have to scheme up some things to get pressure on Matthew Stafford. Even though he's the best against pressure this year, his numbers, they showed up before our game, but I feel like they're going to have to get pressure on him and keep it on him. So they're in his, call something up to get in his face immediately, because I feel like that's the only way they're going to be able to slow them down effectively. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they should just, play coverage. But I feel like they got to, either way, it's going to be a tough task for them. So I feel like they should, like Richie said, they're bend but don't break. Give up all the yards, because I feel like the Rams should sling it around the yard. But when you get to that red zone area, that's where you need to climb down, and not allow them to get touchdowns, make them kick field goals.
All right, Richie, we're the same question. We are rolling into 10 minutes left here. We're looking at the Rams offense versus the Bengals defense. Man, it's words got to talk about. Go ahead, Richie.
Here's what I'll say. I think Higbee, as I already mentioned, will be their best bet, but we can't discuss that. The other thing I mentioned was Cam Akers. As a Bengals fan, I'm kind of happy Cam Akers is a running back. But the reality of the Cincinnati Bengals defense is the one thing in the postseason they've actually struggled against is the rush. It's not pass defense, it's the rush. People are averaging 130 yards per game against them, and the running backs suck. Look, if you look at Kansas City, honestly, Tennessee's backup was successful, not Derrick Henry, because Derrick Henry was injured. And the Raiders, all of them got over 130 rushing yards. So surprisingly, my solution is get about 14 points and start running the ball, and just keep running the ball as much as humanly possible. Don't give Joe Burrow an opportunity to come back, because you will be in the lead. You will not outpass this Bengals team. I understand there's the defense of the ramp, but you won't. If this would be different if Van Jefferson and Robert Woods were playing healthy as well, then I would say go for it. But right now, yeah, you have Cooper Kupp, you have Odell Beckham Jr. But against the Bengals offense, that I wouldn't say it. I think take your lead, because you will get it. Cooper Kupp's going to have a field day at the beginning, early, before the adjustments are made. And Odell Beckham Jr. is going to get a tub, for sure. And again, they'll both each get one. I think they're going to have 21 before the half, like I was saying. Run the ball. That's the one thing that I don't think people are realizing is the Bengals' big weakness is running the ball. If I'm the Bengals defense, I don't have Ogunjobi anymore. But one thing surprisingly is they are getting a lot of sacks. They're a sack machine. They have the highest turnover ratio. They're +5. They have the most turnovers in the playoffs. They're a turnover-bound team. They cause pressure, and they're getting pressure. Will it continue? We don't know. But I'm just going to go with, for the Bengals defense, that's your focus. Continue to do what you've been doing. You've been very successful intercepting the ball, 6 interceptions. And again, Matt Stafford's going to Matt Stafford if you're a Bengals defense. That's what you got to think. This boy likes to cough it up. This is his career. This is what he do. This is what Marvin always talks about. Matt Stafford in the biggest moments is Matt Stafford. And against the 49ers, that's what I watched him do 3 times, quite frankly. So if I'm the Bengals, that's my focal point. Just hope Hubbard and that defensive line can handle it. Hendrickson's a beast. He's healthy. This could easily go their way in pressure. To Sahe's point, Matt Stafford has been incredible and always has been under pressure, but QBR rating aside, he throws the ball and he makes picks. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. You got a turnover-prone quarterback with a turnover machine, at least in the postseason. This could be disaster, which is why I think if you're the Rams, after you start clicking, you just run that I don't care if Matt Stafford has to run the ball. Run the ball. That's the biggest point for the Rams offense. And if you're the Cincinnati defense, blitz. Don't play that prevent. It worked against Patrick Mahomes because the boy didn't know what to do with it. But I promise you, if you give Matt Stafford a prevent defense, he's going to pick you apart. And yes, he does well against the pressure, but he's going to do even better standing still with all day. You can't give him all day. Let's put respect on his name. Blitz the man, get those interceptions. If you can get 2 out of him, I think you win the game if you're the Bengals. And they've had success. They've averaged 2 interceptions per game. It's very possible to get 2 more.
All right, Marvin. You're gonna same question. You're gonna talk Rams offense, Bengals defense, and we'll segue right in to your pick. So you can throw a nice little button on the end. Who you think's gonna win the Super Bowl? And we'll roll it back around. We've got about 5 minutes left of the show.
Okay, I'll be real quick. Y'all hit all the points, but yeah, if you're the Bengals, you want to get as much pressure on Matt Stafford as possible. You want to make Matt Stafford be Detroit Matt Stafford. I'm talking about bad Detroit Matt Stafford because it's more easy. I'm looking at the more turnover-prone quarterbacks in the situation is clearly Matt Stafford. Joe Burrow, I trust. Matt Stafford, I'm not exactly sure. You can force him into a lot of mistakes. So the Bengals are going to have to capitalize on, turnover opportunities, which they've been good at. You look at their secondary and their defensive line. Their defensive line is really good at hurrying and putting pressure on the quarterback. Their secondary is really good at deflecting and tipping balls for the interceptions. So if you're the Bengals defense, they have to play aggressive. They can't, like Richie and Sahe was saying, they can't play too much of a prevent style defense or a passive style defense because Matt Stafford will sit back there in the pocket and he'll take over because he has the weapons to do it. With us. Cooper Kupp and OBJ. And if you're the Rams offense, you're going to have to make sure that you do what got you there as well. Like I was saying earlier, utilizing Cooper Kupp early on because there's nobody that can cover him on the Bengals. There's nobody can cover him. He could eat all day. He could very well have $180 and 2 touchdowns, and I'll leave OBJ open. And so the Rams offense, if they can limit their turnovers and don't give the ball to Joe Burrow, and they should be fine, but they got to do it, like y'all said, while they're up. They can't turn the ball over if they haven't scored points yet. They can't turn the ball over if they're not putting points on the board because we've seen the Bengals have comeback wins. They don't, they can get up the field. They can drive up the field. Like Richie's saying, the weakest part of their game is their running game, but if you allow Joe Burrow to have any time back there, he's going to pick apart the defense as well. So did you say I could throw in my pick now or later on?
Take it away.
All right.
Take it away.
I'm going to take it away. I'm going to be real quick. Even though I want the city of Cincinnati to win, And it would be great for the fans, great for Ohio. We'd love to see Ohio win a world championship. There's just too many veterans on the other side of the ball that I think, it's going to be too much. Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, even Sean McVay being there a couple years ago. I think that the Rams are due. The Rams are due. They've been there. They're probably the hungriest. I think Cincinnati's hungry, but the fans are more hungry than they are to win a championship. A lot of these guys, this is their first time here. This isn't 30 years ago. This isn't 1989. No, this is a new young team that has a bright future, but I think the Rams are going to be, I won't say too much to handle, but it's their time.
Wow, Marvin giving Stafford a Super Bowl. All right, Richie, you are up, my friend. Who is winning this year's Super Bowl?
Stafford is the difference, according to Marvin. We traded Jared Goff. We put in Matt Stafford, and that is the difference. Here's what I will say. I've been objective. I've gotten every pick right. I'm hoping I'll still stay right. I think it's going to be Bengals 38-35 to the Rams. And if that happens and your boy is getting a McPherson jersey, because that means he kicked 4 winners, I think it's going to be 21-7. I think the Bengals are going to go into the half. I think the Rams are going to do, unfortunately, what everybody does, which is not run the damn ball and try to take a bigger lead. And that's where they're going to make a mistake. There's going to be a turnover, and the Bengals are going to come back in it. And I think it's going to be a tight game into the fourth quarter. I truly believe this Bengals offense has been mediocre. I know Marvin disagreed last week, but I think they've been mediocre. I don't think they've played to their potential. They're young. They're ready to go. They don't care about the baggage. And there are a lot of veterans on this Rams team, but there are a lot of veterans on this Rams team that haven't won and have come up short. So is this the moment? It could be. They are the better team than the Bengals, but I just don't. Nobody stopped the Bengals so far. It's not luck when you have all these turnovers. I just don't see it happen. I'm sticking with the Bengals.
All right. And Sahe, not only do you get the final pick of who wins the Super Bowl, but you're going to send us home, man. Who's got the Super Bowl? We got like 40 seconds.
Well, obviously, it's going to be the Rams. The NFC was going to win the Super Bowl the whole time. But so I'll give a score. I think I want it to be a good game. So I'll say 31-30. The Rams win in a tight game. But however, if the Bengals manage to get Bobby Boucher to come in at halftime and the Bengals win the Super Bowl, I am going to be ecstatic. Like, what the hell? And I'm going to the parade in Cincinnati. I hope that happens. I'm right down the road. Man, this is going to be a great one this year. This has been The Wire.